Yo, what is up, everybody? It's your boy Leroy Gangs here. Today we're going to be talking about the Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin game that we just got done completing the main story of, and I just kind of want to give my like overall thoughts and good things, bad things about the game. So let's quickly just go over a synopsis, right? Not of the story, just of the gameplay. For anybody wondering, in this game they tried to mimic something of like the Sekiro like counter parry rhythmist like system, and also throw in their own touch of abilities and magic. And I really like that. I really like how they took something that a community enjoyed and then made their own spin with it. Now, that being said, if you don't enjoy all of the Final Fantasy systems of like magic or stat min-maxing or any of that, I didn't do any of that in my playthrough whatsoever. None of it. And I did it on hard mode, whatever the hardest difficulty. You don't have to. Now, that being said, if you do enjoy those systems, you will do a lot better than I did, most likely, for some of the boss fights, and probably be a little bit less frustrated. But we'll get into that as a whole. So let's talk about just the overall system. Right now, when people think Final Fantasy, they think of, you know, this like turn-based tactical or more like strategy-based like RPG kind of stuff with really rich, deep storytelling. Now, for those of you who don't know, this is a retelling of the first Final Fantasy game. That's why it's called Final Fantasy Origin, the retelling of the Final Fantasy 1 story and kind of how it came to be. So, that being said, for it to open up with such a raw cutscene, if you guys have not seen that cutscene, if people just clicking on this video to be like, oh, you know, I'm thinking about buying the game, that cutscene alone made me buy this game. That cutscene plus a little bit of gameplay, of course, made me buy this game. So just that sold me instantly. Now that first cutscene was insane, just insane. I loved every bit of that. And then like going into the gameplay where you use like their soul energy and you literally kill these entities, these monsters, is just absolutely satisfying. I love the whole like counter gameplay system. I think the first like 5 hours or so of this game is probably like some of the most fun I've had in this kind of like action-based genre ever. And I played Sekiro. I love Sekiro. I love Sekiro. I sat down with a bunch of homies, beat Sekiro, all that stuff. I loved it. Now, that being said, there are some good things and bad things. So went through some of the good things of like they took their own spin-off from the Sekiro system. The combat, I cannot stress that enough. The first 5 hours of this game blew me away. I couldn't wait to see the rest of it. There are some like systematic stuff that you kind of get introduced in forms of like you get all these classes and weapons, and those weapons have different skills and all that, and that is great. I love the customization of this. I love how just like how you can really get into it. Now, I don't like when games just throw a bunch of useless equips at you. And in this game, the equipment is more to min-max, more than just like it being a solidified part of like what you're doing. So you get equipment, you can upgrade it, or you can upgrade the passives on it and stuff. Now you really don't have to worry about that until you get to way late game, something that even when you're done with the story, you're not to late game yet. You're not into that final tier of getting your gear and getting that min-max set up. So that entire system is useless. I got so much gear that like after every mission I had to dismantle all of the gear, just about. Like it was insane. But that being said, all of the gear just felt unimpactful. Like even if I out leveled a mission, I as the main character still felt weak. I felt weaker than my party members. After like the first 5 hours, I felt unstoppable. I thought Jack was nuts. And then after that 5 hours drop off, equipment ass. I thought that made way more of a difference than it did. It didn't. What makes a difference in this game is really min-maxing the resonance of your partners and also making sure you understand the moves of the bosses, because there is no like systematic pattern for like whatever boss moves, like whatever they choose to do. So you can literally just be in a corner getting flurried by a boss and have that happen 6 fights in a row, and every fight it just does different moves to flurry you with. That's cool. You want to add variety, that's awesome, but also it's really tedious to like try and track down the kind of like rhythm based game. So like imagine you're playing Sekiro, right? Sekiro has like this kind of ebb and flow to it of like, you know, bosses hitting you countering or like reacting, and then you getting your own time to like do stuff. You don't get that time to do stuff later. That time to do stuff isn't yours, it's your party's, because they don't get one shot like you do. And that frustrated me so much. The bosses weren't hard. They weren't like out of this world. Maybe because I was playing on hard mode, it seems like just about every move a boss did would 1 to 2 shot you. So if you know, were learning a phase, you would use your potions, and then you'd have to like start doing some kind of like slower gimmicky stuff. If you just want to have fun with this game, I say go in with co-op. Regardless of difficulty, go in with co-op, play with your friends, and just have a great time with your friends. I think this game might be a great co-op game. I didn't play any co-op in my playthrough. I did play with friends off, you know, the video stream, whatever, and that was great. I loved it. Play with co-op if you're wanting to have a really good time in this game. The bosses get tedious. They're not hard, they're just tedious. That's all it was. It felt like I was wasting my time doing some of the later bosses. That's all I felt. The early bosses like Chaos Advent, man, like the Black Knight, man, those were cool bosses that stand out to me in like my the forefront, right? I love that. That was great. The whole feel of like I said, the first 5 hours of this game were amazing. Now the rest of it, system started to stand out. Maps started to get like more intricate, like more wavy and more confusing, which is really bad considering that this game does not have a mini map system. There's no mini map system. Like the pre-mission dialogue, I feel like I talk about this every time I start a video about how it auto-scrolled. Auto-scrolling is cool, that's dope, but you also have to give your players the option to stop the auto-scroll, or at least like I tried every button on the controller, couldn't do anything. So unless it's some kind of secret Konami code, I ain't got it. It was not made apparent to me. The auto scroll just kept going, and it was annoying to actually sit there and like try and read it. It's not like I read slow either. Like wasn't there tracing my finger on the screen reading slow. Like I was really trying to read the pre-mission the pre-mission excerpt, and it was just like, no, it's gone. And it's gone, and you have to like, you know, close the window, open it again to read it. That was tedious. No mini map system. The gear just felt ass, like min-maxing whatever. Now from what I know, you can go all the way to end game, right? Like all the way, you get your min-max gear, your perfect setup for any class you want, or all classes if you want. But as of right now, there's not like other than you just playing the game because you enjoy the game, there's not a reason to. Which, me saying that, like, there's not a lot of reason to do anything in any game. It's just like, if you enjoy it, then you'll play it, that kind of thing, right? But there's not some kind of like, oh, secret raid boss or something to my knowledge of like, oh, you hit this max gear level and have all this like, you know, epic tier stuff, and then all of a sudden you get another raid boss that comes in and you get to try your like hand at it or whatever. To my knowledge, there's not one of those. I could be wrong, but I haven't gotten that far or whatever. And unless people really want me to continue to play this game, I don't have any plans to play it after the story mode. I think the story mode was cool. I didn't have any ties with the characters. Like when I think of rich, deep storytelling, I actually think of like Nier. Like Nier Automata was like one of the first games like of my entire life that really gripped me like that, and I loved it. And I did not feel like I'm not gonna put spoilers, but I didn't feel that with the characters in this game, any of them. Not Jack, not any of them. Like if they just died or something, I was like, whatever. I mean, like, you know, as we're going through levels or something, like I don't really care about their hardships or anything. They're like, it just seems like all the missions were just like, hey, do this dungeon, tedious boss at the end, here's some story, this itty bitty bit of story, go do the next dungeon. That's what the game was. And it was over in about 25 to 30 hours or so, of me just like doing some weird shit. Now, like, again, the first 5 hours was the most fun I've ever had in this game. The story, that's not why you play it. The combat is why you play it. And at like killing just random mobs, great, because you can counter them and they kind of like flinch back or something, right? And then you get your chance to kind of get in your hits, and then they, you know, stop being flinched. Bosses don't have that, like, at all. If they made bosses have like that kind of like cooldown period where, like, you know, they do their flurry of blows, you counter them or you do whatever, and then like they take a second, I would have played this entire game melee. I would have been in the front lines, but instead I had to switch to magic because of how tedious the bosses felt. Now, I'm not saying you can't do this with melee. I am sure there are way better people that just play this game and, you know, do that all the way through, but that wasn't for me. I didn't feel like sitting there for an hour or hours just really learning the boss pattern like I did with you know, some of the earlier stuff. But all in all, if I have to give this game a score, I'm probably going to give it like a 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10. And the points that are taken away, one for each, right? The systems, like mini map, the auto scroll, that is bare bones. Like that's something that any game in the Elden Ring had a fucking map, bro. A fucking Dark Souls game had a map. I think it's the first Final Fantasy game in my life I've ever played that didn't have a map. That's weird. Second, flooding your inventory with gear that is absolutely worthless. There was no point at all that I felt like min-maxing my gear or farming for better gear was ever the option or a solution at all. Like, I just didn't care. I auto-equipped all the shit, didn't care. That passive, like, nothing stood out to me. Now, the command abilities and stuff like that, I didn't play too much with, but I know people that did, and they say that really makes a difference. So command abilities and then like min-maxing your kind of like arsenal, you know, like all these different spells you get when you get into more advanced classes. I think that does make a difference. So in that turn, that system really matters. But as far as like, you know, fucking gear score and all that, useless. I felt no attachment to it. Now, if you play a game like Borderlands or something and they just throw a bunch of random loot at you, but when you pick up a gun and you're like, oh, that gun has like a different, you know, manufacturer or ammo type or like whatever, you use that gun, you're like, oh, you know, like it has this different fire thing, you might want to use it for a little bit. It feels different. If you just pick up random, like any kind of item and like this Final Fantasy game that it just throws at you all the time, you're just like, oh, nice, can't wait to dismantle this when I get home. Like that's what it felt like. So inventory just being spewed spewed in and being like a small like inventory management game, I didn't like it. Nope, take it out, I don't care. The bosses being tedious, not hard, just having like, you know, an arsenal bigger than like the Titanic and then them using it random as fuck, no patterns whatsoever and no cooldown between any of their shit. That's weird. That's weird. Nah, if you're gonna make an action-based, like, you know, Sekiro ripoff, come on. You could have done better with that. A lot better. Especially for Final Fantasy, man. I love Final Fantasy games so much. I grew up with them, all that stuff, but this third point of like the bosses is feeling worse than like the bosses weren't fun at all. Like outside of the first like 3 or 4, I loved fighting just the normal enemies. Because there was that kind of like, you know, hit back, hit back, you know, stuff like that. I love that. But the later bosses, nah, I ain't about it. Nope, get out. See ya. And then the fourth one, like the fourth point that I'm taking away, right, would be just like how empty the story felt. It was a retelling of the first Final Fantasy game, and all in all, it's it's a cool like shock factor, but I literally called the ending of the story at like episode 10 or something in like my playthrough. Like the first 5 hours, I was like, oh, I bet this happens, and then it happens. And before you're even given any story, because like I said, it's a do a dungeon, fight a boss, story. The story just seems like an afterthought, which is fine, but the gameplay has to make up for it, and the bosses were really lacking. I love fighting the normal enemies, but the bosses were just not there, and neither was the story. So all in all, I'm giving this a 6 out of 10. I loved a lot of stuff about this game. Some of the soundtrack was amazing. The way that like the environments looked was great. The combat, like I said, when fighting the normal enemies, it was fantastic. The customization and optimization that you can do on a per character or per class basis, love it. That is what you play Final Fantasy for right there. That customization, that like entire like, here's all this system, have fun with it. And it really felt like a new system in this game. I loved it. Like the countering and everything. Now, countering being like a little buggy sometimes, I feel like, where it's just like you would counter some shit and it would still break your guard. That was kind of weird, but nonetheless, I give it a 6 out of 10. There were definitely some great things about this game. Like I said, in the first 5 hours, I loved it. If you're gonna buy the demo or you're gonna play a demo, cool. Or if you got friends to play with, awesome. I recommend picking this game up. Pick it up. It's great. Love it. I love it. Now, if you're gonna just like try and do a casual playthrough, if you just chilling and you're like that hard mode option right there, let me click that, stop. It ain't worth it. Dial that difficulty back. They didn't balance some shit. Nope. Dial it back. You ain't win nothing. So it's okay. No one cares. All in all, like I said, I like the game. I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. I recommend it if, again, you're gonna play it super casually, right? Or you have some friends to play with. But it's not like some kind of like try hard die fest. It's something that you're gonna get done with in about 20 to 30 hours. Maybe if you really like the game, you're gonna get done within 50 hours when you grind the end game, and then you're gonna drop it for something else. That's the truth. And if that is enticing to you, and if you really like the look or the you know, whatever, or if the game goes on sale, buy it. I think it's worth, especially if it goes on sale or something like that. But again, 6 out of 10. Guys, that's my thoughts on Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. That was my entire thought process as I was playing through it. And then like I again even gave myself like a day just to really think about this game. And that's just what I'm thinking. That is my thoughts on the game. If you guys enjoy this kind of content, please like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. Let me know if you guys disagree with any of the points that I said. If you have anything to add, put it in the comments below. We'll talk about it. I'll respond to comments every single day. Until next time, guys, thanks for watching. Peace.